Thank you for joining us for Prep Extra Live, the post-game show. Week 10, the regular season is in the books, and now it's time to turn our attention toward the playoffs. Tonight we're going to recap everything that happened and how... Freddie, you all right?
You can seat squared away. I don't know. I'm sitting in your seat.
You're not sitting in my seat. I've never said this.
Man, I feel like I can
Freddie's
head to head with you.
Freddie's got his booster seat now. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about is we're going to wrap up all the league championship races and the playoff situations from across the San Gabriel Valley, but we're going to start with one that actually doesn't have anything to do with the playoffs or a league title race, but it's the results of the night. Pasadena ends the long streak in the turkey tussle. They beat Muir 13-6. Boy, Fred, I mean
something I've never seen. And I've been in the San Gabriel Valley covering this for forever. I haven't worked here 20 years. So
I covered the last
seen
one.
This happen.
I covered the last time.
Well, that's tells you how long.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
But back then it was on a Saturday, or that game was on a Saturday, and Jim Barrera was a prep editor, and he did the main bar and I did the side bar. Since it was an afternoon.
All I know is, like, I think my dad tweeted this out.
I remember
earlier.
Chris McAllister had a great game.
Not one of those players who won the night were alive the last time they beat Muir.
No, I'm not even sure their parents were alive.
Well, some of them were.
Jeez,
but
man.
That's great for Pasadena. I mean, that needed to happen, I think, for them, and it had been so long. And before that, I mean, and that's the first win. I mean, you have to go back. There's 20 years for that win. It's almost another 20 years to find their win before that.
I thought it was like 10 years.
10 years. It was in like 1987.
Yeah. Okay, but as great as it was for Pasadena, Fred, it's equally as bad for Muir because you don't want to be the team that blows the streak. And they are, the 2015 Stangs, the team that blew the streak. And
right.
Boy, that's got to hurt.
I remember my days covering Ken Howard when he was over there, and that was the most important thing to him. He said, "There's no way we're ever losing to Pasadena on my watch."
Right.
That was important.
Yeah, and
there were so many times you thought Pasadena might do it. They had that the video when you're about the rival, Kevin Mills comes out in the camouflage fatigues. Outfit, and they're doing all that smack talking like this is going to be the year, and they almost practically guaranteed it. And they got smoked that night.
Yeah.
Most of these games are just so lopsided that it's not even a game.
This is pretty mind blowing. I mean, what happened at Muir, this year. I mean, they really fell off a slope. Now you remember the administration decided to make a change at the end of last year and got rid of Coach Hardy. And that was kind of a strange move, and it's one that he didn't like, and he was none too happy about. And I remember Coach Hardy in last year's Turkey Tussle, was the first one I ever covered. He walked in with the team, came out of the tunnel, and he starts looking at me, and he's like, I own this place. I own this place. I own the Rose Bowl, So that's kind of what you're talking about, Fred. This Muir ownership. Yeah. These guys are not going to take this very well.
I'll tell you, you're right, Aaron. And, for me, too, you're just seeing Muir sports starting to flatline, too. It's not just football. I mean, back when I'm thinking about just 8-9 years ago when I was covering them. The girls' basketball team was a CIF annual contender. Track, had always been Coach Knowles, I think, over there. I'd covered them when they'd won some girls' championships, always in the mix. Basketball, their boys' basketball.
Yeah, when they had Rocky Moore as the coach.
But even after that, they would give PHS games. Those were like, look at all of those sports now. What are they good at anymore? Everything is just flatlining. And now you see football taking a big dump like this. This is school with such a great and rich tradition in Pasadena for all other sports. This is where Jackie Robinson went to school, for heaven's sake. They've got to really, that athletic department
it's
school,
amazing.
They've got to take a serious look at themselves and say, what are we going to do to change this?
Right.
Because I don't see it getting any better.
Right. Okay, well, that was the big one tonight. Obviously, full coverage in tomorrow's Pasadena Star News, and we don't hear much from Muir or PHS fans on the blog. Maybe we will tonight, but they've kind of gone by the wayside as well. Now back to league titles and playoff races. There were very few games tonight that were actual league championship, outright winner-take-all games. The game I was at tonight, Arroyo beats Rosemead 38-21 to get back on top in the Mission Valley League. They will go as the number 1 team out of the Mission Valley League, obviously, and then Rosemead is the number 2. The league does not get a third playoff spot, guaranteed at least, because the Mid-Valley Division, 6 leagues, all of them get 2 guaranteed spots. Then there's 4.
They probably won't get in that large either.
Yeah, they probably won't.
Yeah.
Then there's 4 at large to go to the 6 leagues. So that thing is settled. Earlier today, Rio Hondo Prep beats Pasadena Poly to win the Prep League.
Yeah.
That was a winner-take-all one, Freddie.
Yeah.
That one's taken care of. Now, I don't think there was any others as far as winner-take-all championship games.
Well, not
tonight,
winner-take-all championships, but Northview beat Covina tonight to win the undisputed Valley Vista League title. There was a situation where they could have fallen into a 3-way tie.
Right.
Northview finishes 1, San Dimas 2. Covina's going to finish 3rd and likely get in the playoffs as an at-large.
You think
I think
so?
that's going to
Okay.
be a team that does get in when you look at their overall record
Right.
and how they've done. Interesting games for playoff spots tonight, Aram. I mean, in the Palomares and the Hacienda, you had some crazy things go down tonight.
let's get into that.
I think the most wacky, and I think the one you really have to look at, team that seems to do crazy things at the end of the season, surprise you, is South Hills, and they've done it again. 2 weeks ago, this team was dead and buried. They beat Ayala. They shut them out 13-0. Nobody expected that. And then tonight, they come back on the road at Claremont, win 28-27 in a winner-get-in game. They get in. Bonita also. They
Bonita gets
Ayala
in,
tonight.
and Glendora, your league champ.
And they get in. Glendora's a league champ.
Boy, oh boy. You know, for Claremont, Freddie, this is really, last year was we're young, we're talented.
Yeah.
This year was, they're still mainly a junior class with some underclassmen. But this year was supposed to be the year, and next year was supposed to be the year. And for for Claremont to not make it, really, really shocking. But congratulations to Coach Fuzz Rodriguez out at South Hills. Gets
Big
the Huskies back in the playoffs.
And I'm guessing that probably gets them.
Monrovia.
San Marino.
No, I don't
They're
think
going to be a third-place team. South Hills is going. Bonita's going to get in as the second-place team in the Palomares.
Last year, I think Claremont was the third-place team, and they drew San Marino, which was the number 2 out of the Rio Hondo. So I was thinking same thing.
I'm
They'll get
guessing
the
San
number 2.
Marino's going to be a seeded team. I could see like a South Hills getting a San Marino or something. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios.
Right.
They could get Charter Oak for all we know. CIF might want to do that just to be cute.
Oh, God. That would be interesting. I'm sure Charter Oak's kind of more thinking South Pasadena, but...
Hacienda.
Yeah, Hacienda League, Freddie. That was the game you were out at tonight.
I was at the Charter Oak game. Jesus, Zion Eccles, man. I watched him tonight. 6 rushing touchdowns. I think someone was telling me, I couldn't confirm it, I think he's 1 touchdown shy of the single season rushing record. He's in the 30s now. I'd have to check. But man, that guy is just something else. I wanted to see them again, just as we're going into the playoffs to kind of get a better feel after watching San Marino a few weeks ago. Aram, and this team is loaded and ready. West Covina gave them some problems early, but Charter Oak's going to be such a dangerous out in the playoffs. And for West Covina, I talked to Majori earlier. This is the first time they missed the playoffs since 1998.
Incredible.
1998.
Wow.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So the rest of the league, Freddie, shakes out like what? Diamond Ranch number 2 or Chino number 2?
Yeah, Diamond Ranch beats Los Altos tonight, so they knocked Los Altos out of the playoffs.
Right.
Now, there's one thing to consider here when you know that Los Altos has been knocked out of the playoffs officially. Claremont, Ayala. There's one at-large berth in the Central that one of the I'm sure they're all going to apply. I haven't looked at all of the scenarios, or I haven't tried to do all the math.
That was Bonita that got it last year on Palomares' team. So
so
maybe there's hope.
We'd have to go back and look at that. Saturday, if you get on the blogs, I'll have a chance to really look at it.
Yeah,
give
we'll
you my
have to do the
guess
formula.
of who I think will get in. Because CIF does have a formula, and you can get pretty close to figuring out who the 1 or 2 teams are. But that's the situation there. And I mean, you're going to have some good teams that are just simply not going.
All you got to know is who the teams are that will apply for it, and then you can stack them up against each other and use the CIF criterion and get a pretty good idea of who's going to get in.
Yeah.
Right. Montview League teams, 2 teams that got in first, Baldwin Park,
and then
Azusa. And Azusa with the big win. The team that I think they started 0-5 or 0-6.
Yeah, been a rough year for them, but they're back in.
They get in the playoffs. So good for sure.
Coach Joe Scherf, absolutely. The Angeles League, that's where Stevie was tonight. He got to see St. Paul. They had that early lead against
what
Cathedral.
happened, Stevie? What's going on in Angeles?
we've talked about how Cathedral's had the suspensions, and they look like the real Cathedral tonight. I mean, St. Paul was never really in this game. They did score on their opening drive,
like last week,
and they gave up a touchdown, a kickoff return for a touchdown right after that, and it was only 21-7 at half. But then Cathedral, just their speed, like I said, St. Paul had trouble a little bit with Salesian speed a few weeks ago, and they had a lot of problems with Cathedral speed tonight.
So what's that situation in the
Harvard Westlake came back and beat Salesian, so they share the title with Cathedral, but Cathedral beat them, so they get the number one.
So where does St. Francis fall?
St. Francis will be third.
And they were on the
Salesian and St. Paul tie for fourth. They both can apply for at large, but I'm sure they'll look at St. Paul more.
What does that lead? Do they get two at larges?
No, there's just one at large.
Okay.
Yeah. And I looked at it the other day, and there was like from the other leagues of fourth place, there was some matchups for fourth and third, and both of those teams were like 5 and 4. So one of them who doesn't make it is going to be 5 and 5, and it's just I think St. Paul's win over Salesian will help them. I was looking at Cal Preps, and they give you special points for beating, for winning a game you're not expected to win based on the rankings, and I think that'll help them. But it's going to be close because their non-league schedule wasn't tough.
So to recap, the Angeles League shakes out like this: 1 Cathedral, 2 Harvard Westlake, 3 St. Francis. 4th is St. Paul, and they will need an at-large to get in. And that's how that league shakes out. The Del Rio, Stevie, how did that one finish out? We know Lucerna clinched the league title last night, if not the week before.
Whittier beat Santa Fe 13-12.
Okay.
That knocked out Pioneer, who lost to Lucerna last night. So it's going to be Whittier number 2, Santa Fe 3. They tie, but because of their win. And so it's that's great for Whittier I think it's the first in about 9 years since they've been in the playoffs.
Bicycle Lancich, congratulations to them. Now, shifting gears to Bishop Amat.
And before we get to Bishop Amat,
okay,
I want to say something about Aram Telegian right now because, this week we got in this discussion about, I thought it was going to be close, you thought it was going to be a blowout, and I said, Aram, give me a number. Give me a number. Give me a spread in this game.
Right.
You put it out on Twitter. What'd you put, Aram?
I said it was going to be 38-17.
No. You said it was going to be a 21-point win.
Yeah, well, that's a 21-point win, but
24-3 is 4-3. They won 21 points. You called it.
Yeah,
that's why we call you Mr. Bookie.
Yeah, we're Mr. Is that
and
why?
Mr. Book.
Right.
Hey, I called the PA.
Bookman. This is Bookman.
I called the PA. I
guess I
the
called
Pasadena win. So.
That's a great call, and you're absolutely
but
spot on.
I guess I lost the over because it wasn't 38-17. Bishop Amat, the defense tonight takes care of business. They get the win.
That's a good sign for them too.
Yeah, very good sign because it doesn't seem like anyone can play like a defense in that division except for the Biggies and maybe Amat.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the news got even better for Amat after the win. They beat Loyola, and then they get the news that Chaminade beat Sarah, the battle of the old Mission League teams, 3 years ago when they were on the same league.
So at the end of the day, they wind up winning a second consecutive Mission League title. I mean, they share it. They're not going to go in as the number one representative into the playoffs. But for Coach Steve Haggerty and crew, I mean, that's a great job to win back-to-back league titles. They're not going to probably get a top 4 seed. I was looking at that thinking, can they get in? Because Sarah was in that mix.
I don't think so.
You're going to have Centennial and Bosco and Oaks Christian who finish undefeated. They're going to be the top 3 seeds. Oaks Christian third. That 4th seed is going to either be Sarah or Mater Dei. Both of those teams beat Bishop Amat. Those are the 3 that you could really consider for it.
Mater Dei is the 2 out of the Trinity?
Yeah, Mater Dei is the 2 out of the Trinity.
And the 3rd was what? Because Orange Lutheran lost to J. Sarah tonight, so we don't know yet. I mean,
the 3rd, I was just looking at it online, but
boy, that's going to be interesting.
And
who's the 3 out of the Mission? Chaminade?
No. It's Loyola. Chaminade is going to apply for an at-large berth, and Chaminade is probably going to get it. They're going to get one. There's 2 of them in the pack, so they're going to get one.
Really, the Trinity should get one in the Mission, right? But you know, we obviously still that doesn't matter. I mean, you got to follow the criteria. You know, and so, if both come from the same league like last year, then they come from the same league.
And it all comes down to people. Can they get to the semifinals? And it's really going to be. You've got to stay. When you look at these groups of 16, there are 4 groups of 4. To get to the round. You've got to stay out of that group of 4 that includes Centennial and Bosco, obviously. They can't, if Sarah gets a seed, they can't be in that group of 4. Yeah. So that leaves Oaks Christian. That's the group that Almont would like to find themselves in. If they don't find themselves in the group of 4 with Oaks Christian, then they will be in that group of 4, probably with Centennial or St. John Bosco, unless Mater Dei. They've actually got a hope Mater Dei gets the seed instead of Sarah. So that they have a better chance of getting in one of those 2 groups of 4. And then Sarah and Almont would be on opposite sides of the draw anyway. It wouldn't matter. That's what they've got to hope. And that could happen tonight with Mater Dei winning and Sarah losing.
Right.
When you look at strength of schedule and everything, I really do think Mater Dei now will get that 4 seed, and this knocks Sarah out of it. And I think there's a good chance. Maybe they get a rematch with Mater Dei in the second round, which would, I think it would be all right. Interesting. Or Oaks Christian.
Yeah, I'm sure Almont would like that.
Yeah. The big story in the whole Pac-5 division tonight
this is my next
what happened with Long Beach Poly. They wound up finishing. They had the forfeits earlier in the week. They were ranked 5th in the Pac-5. They had the 3 forfeits in league. So what happened tonight? They wound up winning, but the scenarios came out. They finished in a 3-way tie for third. Aram. They did the flips or whatever whatever they do.
They take an envelope, and if your card's pulled first, your envelope's pulled first, you're out. And then they take the next 2 teams that are left, and they go head to head.
Yeah. So Long Beach Poly at the end of this, they actually finish 5th on paper. They were actually the odd team out of those 3, and they can apply for an at-large, but they won't get an at-large. Because CIF uses straight criteria. They go by league straight. Right. They don't have it. They go by overall record now. They won't have it. They won't have enough against other Pac-5.
What's going to be their overall record with the forfeits?
They won't get in. Here is the only way Long Beach Poly gets in, and our Long Beach riders had pointed this out earlier. Only way they can get in, the leagues submit the 3 teams, 1, 2, 3 to CIF. That's basically how they do it. The CIF leaves it completely up to them. If the Moore League principals and electorate,
what are the chances?
If they get together and say, you know what, Poly deserves to be in, they can put Poly in. They can insert them 1, 2, or 3, however they want. But to do that, they've got to eliminate a team that's already in.
That would cause a total.
Cause chaos.
It would just be a disaster because you don't respect the forfeits. Then you don't respect the rules.
Yeah. Right.
And that would just be a fiasco. So I mean, who the heck knows out of the Moore League? There's such a disaster of a league and schools that I guess anything's possible. But I mean, if they did that, Fred, and submitted Poly, somewhere in the top 3, that's just totally stupid.
To do that, you've got to tell a team.
And you're going to burn a team.
You've got to tell a team and parents and families, people who also want that, who probably, a lot of those parents that can't stand passing to Poly because they've been Poly because they've been taking their players for years.
Right.
You've got to tell them now.
There's no way.
We're taking you out. I mean,
I bet you CIF would. I don't know what they do, but I mean, you start talking about loss of membership time.
And then you're looking at other schools that would be pretty pissed off. If you're like a Bosco or Centennial, and they did that, inserted them 3 so they could play them, or let's say they inserted them 2 so they can get a favorable draw. What if Almont got them as 2 because they put them in as 2? I kind of
don't understand why our Long Beach guys even threw this out there. I mean, do they have like a little tip that this is possibly going to happen?
I'll tell you what, and we're talking about Mike Gardabosky and JJ Fiddler. They are really, really clued in over there.
Right.
I mean, when they throw something out like that, I think that maybe
almost start
possible.
Thinking that someone mentioned it, or that there's a small chance, or someone's
or that it's been discussed.
Yeah, someone's thinking about it.
Yeah. So
when
they mention something like that, and the way they worded it on Twitter, they said it's almost incumbent upon the league to do it. I don't know if it's incumbent upon the league to do it.
Who says that?
That's what the Gazette.
Their opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they should.
Boy,
I just would find it hard to believe because
crazy.
like you said, the other principals usually don't like when a team like Poly has all this success. Why would they
Well, here's the thing.
vote for them?
Here, my last thought on this. If the principals were going to do something like this, Steve, you do it, but you decide this before it all happens. You decide that, hey, guys, if there's a 3-way tie, we're automatically going to put Poly third. That's just the way.
Yeah.
Why would you even go to envelopes?
Yeah.
Why would you even go to envelopes and then come back later and say, oh, no, we're not going to respect the envelopes?
I don't know,
that
man.
wouldn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Either say you're going to put them in, or it's the whole situation from last year with South Pass and La Cañada. If you're going to make that decision before the game.
Yeah. I've never heard of something like that
Right.
at the college level back when. When conferences used to vote for the champion for like the Rose Bowl, I know that happened to USC and UCLA where they voted USC because of an injury.
Yeah,
but
I think our colleagues in Long Beach are rooting a little bit right now.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the Trinity League. Orange Lutheran got the number 3 seed, so Servite and Jay Serra will have to apply for at-large berths. That's courtesy of Mike the cousin. Mikey El Primo.
Servite and Jay Serra, their overall records aren't incredible either, but they're better than what Poly had. Chaminade's going to get in. Chaminade's going to get.
You would hope after this win tonight.
And I think they
finished the season
3
well.
games all year. They're 7-3, so they're going to get in.
I don't know. I mean, that's really kind of it as far as wrapping up the playoff spots and the league title races. I guess there's really not a need to really go long on this show, Fred, because we're going to be right back here on Sunday, right?
Yeah, we're going to be back here Sunday when the pairings finish. We'll, after they wrap them up, we wrap up our stories. Just follow us on the blogs or Twitter. We'll let
Sunday
you know.
Afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. We will talk about the pairings and how they unfolded, what happened with Long Beach Poly. I guess we'll know sometime Saturday because they've got to submit the teams that are going in. But what are your thoughts, Aram, overall? I mean, about what you expected this season? I think there's going to be some exciting potential matchups in the playoffs. So
there's really no. I was thinking about it on the drive over here. League championship results that surprised me. I mean, Charter Oak and the Hacienda League, no shock. Glendora and the Palomares, no shock. Amat getting a share of the Mission League, no shock. The Mission Valley League going to Arroyo, no shock. Maybe Baldwin Park winning the Montview and having it not be Azusa. I don't know. I don't see any. La Habra won their league. La Serna won their league. La Mirada won their league. I mean, that happens every year. I mean, for as much as things change. Montebello won the Alma. I mean, for as much as things change.
One of my final thoughts, being at Charter Oak tonight was thinking about the greatness of Lou Farrar, who's chasing his 6th championship, probably has a pretty good chance to win it this year, which would leave him one shy of the all-time legend here, Dwayne Despain, who has 7. Yeah. And when I think of Lou Farrar, you think of all the great coaches we've had in the Valley, the Ganos, who's won 4, Bogan, who's won 4, I think Majori has 3. What he's been able to do over the last, God, how many years has Coach Farrar been there? Over 30 years?
Yeah.
He's
if you count the Royal Oak years, it's longer.
But you see a lot of these public schools go through their ups and downs, and he's really kept it there. He's been able to make Charter Oak. All these public schools, not all of them. Any school that's successful doesn't do it with just the players in their school boundary areas. You get players that come outside, and that's the result of having a good program. And that's what he's done. He's made Charter Oak for over 30 years a destination spot. And that's a really credit to him.
It's the best public school program in the Valley.
Yeah, and you see, like I'm watching it again tonight, how well they're doing, and you've seen other teams come and go, and they're always the constant. They're always consistent. Even their bad years are good. And you have to really give a lot of credit to him and his staff, and chasing 6, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Anytime you can get that number. That's the Michael Jordan number to me.
Right, and on that note, that brings me to Jim Singheiser, because, the same things that you're kind of thinking about Lou Farrar, I'm thinking about Jim Singheiser tonight, because here's a guy, he's in his 13th year, he's been at Arroyo 13 years, 8 league championships. They're back on top this year. He won his 100th game last week, and now he's on 101 tonight. And, he said the only thing sweeter than 101 will be 102, which will be next week in the playoffs. But a guy like Jim Singheiser, Freddie, now you talk about like Charter Oak, they have to get, in order to kind of sustain what they do, they have to get guys from outside the area. I'm not quite sure, other than having maybe a good grip on El Monte to some degree, where Arroyo, is pulling any talent, and they're really not. And you look at Jim Singheiser and his staff, and Coach McMillan, the offensive coordinator, has been with him for so long. They have another number 10 playing quarterback tonight, Humberto Pantoja. He's going to be the league MVP pretty much. I mean, you have him in your top 10 or whatever Tribune Player of the Year candidates. This guy's outstanding. Now, you look back, you look at like the Dominic Simones, the Brian Partitas, the Steven Rivera's, the kid that came right after Rivera that we had, was it Nathan Cotto? And now this kid, they all wear 10. And they're all, at last year's Charter Oak passing tournament in May, I went up to Singheiser while Arroyo was throwing, and I said, "Hey man, Rivera looks pretty good." And he looked at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, that he's like, that's not Rivera. I said, "Yeah, I know. Cotto looks good." He's like, "Oh, that's Humberto Pantoja," and this and that. And he's serious because he's involved in his game. He's kind of thinking like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" But my point was that the names are becoming interchangeable now. I mean, obviously Rivera is one of the greatest of all time, but that number is staying the same. The names are changing, and you're getting the same results. Now that's coaching. To be constantly putting out a number 10 at quarterback that's throwing for 2,000 something yards and pushing for 1,000 yards rushing and doing the things it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The job that Arroyo and their staff do. It's unbelievable.
When you start
Fred.
putting down the list of the coaches that, if I was a player, who I'd want to play, Singheiser's right there at the top of that list. I mean, that video we had a couple of years ago.
And he's probably not ever going to win a CIF title or go to the final.
Right. But remember that video? Was that you?
What do you want me to do, bake him a cake?
Yeah, remember in the locker room, though? That was,
that too,
that just gave me goosebumps. I mean, that's the kind of coach that you want to play for. And he is a great coach because you were just saying how they compete for league titles every single year. All those teams in the Mission Valley League, they kind of get like talent. And it's really it's those teams that gets coached up that win. And he's got them there every single year. There's no teams that have big advantages over the other in terms of talent. It's really coaching that wins those leagues. And he does it. And he always. And you look at the quarterbacks, like you just said. He always coaches quarterbacks. Every year when we look at the passing leaders, touchdown leaders, there's always an Arroyo kid at the top of the list. Always. And they've got the all-time career leader in Rivera. He was a 4-year guy. I've always thought about Singheiser. I remember last year there was some thought he might take the Monrovia job, but he's never.
They offered it to him.
And he's never going to leave Arroyo.
2 years ago.
And I get it.
Or a year ago.
But he's never going to leave Arroyo, I don't think, and I get it because I understand that. I mean, I think he likes being there. But he's one of those guys I would love to see in a situation with a lot of talent. I would love to have seen him trying to groom a Matt Fink, over there. I mean, I would just
him and McMillan, because McMillan gets a lot of the credit too. I mean, he's the offensive coordinator. He's the QB guy there.
I would love to see them with a real talented team one year and see how they do against other like teams. Because he's been such a great coach over the year and proven that you want to see it.
Yeah, great to see him back on top. I don't know. I mean, is there a biggest surprise and biggest disappointment?
The biggest surprise to me is South Hills getting in the playoffs. What they did in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
they did it on the road at Ayala, at Claremont. That was pretty impressive when you look at their year. And I mean, there was a point where we were almost laughing at them. They couldn't score any points. They're getting shut out. The one thing that constant they've had is their defense. Their defense has been great all year. They shut out Ayala last week. They did a great job against Claremont, a team that can score a lot of points. I think they blanked
Diamond Ranch to start the year.
Blanked Diamond. I mean, they have some good wins on their schedule.
They're a young team.
And if you really think about it, they played a damn good schedule. I mean, they had to play La Habra and some other teams. I mean, they played a great schedule. They beat the teams.
They have a good staff.
They beat
Fuzz,
the team.
And he's got some guys that were at Charter Oak and other places. He's got a good staff.
When you go back and look at the schedule, they beat the teams. They were supposed to beat teams you didn't think they would beat. The teams they lost to, you kind of expected it. I mean, it really is. So,
That's true.
I mean, South Hills, who knows? the right matchup for them, and they're gonna be hard to score on or hard. They stay in games because of their defense. So who knows?
Biggest surprise and biggest disappointment is both the PHS score and obviously the PHS score is the biggest disappointment if you're talking Mir. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Mir side, it's obviously a big disappointment. I know how important it is for them. We talked about it before how, and for PHS, I mean, they've kind of been close the last few years, and for them to finally get over the hump is really good for them.
My biggest disappointment is not necessarily.
Wow.
Mir. Yeah, I guess you could throw.
You don't go to the tussle at all tonight, Freddie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can't.
What is it?
It's probably Los Altos.
Not making the
playoffs. A team that
was in the
finals last year and had a good team, and I really didn't expect that. I thought they were one of the locks to get in, and they still
tough league
might get in with an at-large berth.
Right.
I don't know, but for them to lose that game tonight in an all-or-nothing game and leave it to this situation, that's my biggest disappointment, along with Mir.
It's going to be hard to top Zion Eccles for Athlete of the Week, but I think that Frank Carrera from Blair with the 9-yard touchdown run last night to close the season for the Vikings.
Explain that one.
Yeah, Blair. This was on my Twitter. I think you retweeted it. This is from the San Marino football Twitter account. Frank Carrera, Blair backup, scored a 11-yard touchdown run, I believe, right at the end of the game against San Marino for Blair's only points of the night. They lost the game 55-8. We have the video of it. And obviously he was ecstatic, and the team was ecstatic for him, Freddie.
Yeah.
And just watch the video, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It was a great moment. And kudos to San Marino for capturing that and getting it out for everyone to kind of see. And kudos to Blair. We talked about, I tweeted this earlier, they're winners in my book. They're 0-10 on the season, but to me, in other ways, they are definitely winners for persevering through a very tough season. They probably get laughed at. They probably take a lot of heat from other kids on campus who don't even want to come out for the team.
They show up.
Yeah, they show up every week. It's got to be for love of the game. And they pull for each other and whatever. It's not a huge roster, but good for them. And it's one of those things in life where, things don't go your way, and you stick with it regardless.
And you've seen some teams this year who have shut down their football programs for other various reasons.
Right.
And if there's anyone who has a reason to probably do that, it's probably Blair, and they don't. They show up and they play every week.
I think they deserve a lot of credit.
Or San Marino
right.
or whoever.
It's like what I was at the Quarterbacks Club last week, and Coach Bogan was speaking, and how I say my team is never defeated. We may not win, outscore our opponent, but we compete. Just going out there and competing, no matter who you are, is that makes you a winner, and that's the case with Blair.
We always compete.
Yeah, we're
always right there. We never give up.
Okay, so
we're here every 10 weeks. We were here, all three of us. We made it.
Congratulations to all the league champions, and congratulations to all the teams that know for sure that they've punched their tickets into the playoffs. We'll find out exactly who's going where and what on Sunday. Needless to say, stay tuned through all the various web platforms to all that. And, we'll find out on Sunday, Freddie, where this season is headed.
Pac-5 champions, right here. Pac-5 champions.
Thank you for watching.
I've declared them ready for the postseason.